This is the video presentation for the paper titled Behavioral Measures of Copresence in Collocated Mixed Reality. Collocated mixed reality allows sharing both physical and virtual elements, but not all is necessarily shared. So, how does one feel that someone else is sharing the same experience? This question is critical in applications such as mixed reality theater, when an ambiguity can become either something to strive for artistically or a deal breaker when it threatens to degrade the understanding of the performer's actions. Investigating this requires a mean of evaluating someone's feeling of copresence, which we define here as a subdimension of social presence, which is itself a component of presence. When it comes to evaluating these aspects for someone, the common approach is the use of questionnaires. Presence has various established questionnaires, some of which are even apt for mixed reality. However, evaluating copresence has to be done through social presence, with questionnaires not necessarily designed for mixed reality. Moreover, questionnaires present well-known flaws, such as the imposition of a conceptual framework or the lack of a frame of reference. An alternative option to questionnaires is found in behavioral measures. The most represented approach relies on stressful stimuli, which restrains the range of applicable scenarios. And while other measures exist, they fail to capture copresence as they are often built around the experience of a single person, thus missing the copresence aspect. In this paper, we introduce an experimental protocol for behavioral measures of copresence in mixed reality. We evaluate this protocol through an experiment comparing two feedback conditions meant to induce varying levels of copresence, and we then report on insights and guidelines learned through this process. The protocol is called Wall Dodger and consists of a paired avoidance task, where participants, which we label here as 1, must remain in the blue area, labeled as 2, and must avoid the red walls, which are labeled here as 7. These walls move towards them, and the participants must also stay in separate corridors. Here is how part of a trial goes. So as you can see, the participants must navigate through these walls, while also occasionally having to move further aside than they would if they were alone. We proposed several measures for this task. First, a questionnaire was adapted from an established social presence questionnaire and tailored for copresence in the specific context of collocated mixed reality. Then, a post-experiment interview was conducted in order to investigate the potential strategies which were developed by the participants, as well as to collect their impressions on how they felt they were sharing this environment with the other person. Then, in terms of behavioral measures, we tracked task performance, along with the trajectory, both in terms of temporality and in terms of interpersonal distance. And we also measured gaze through the orientation of the headset. To evaluate the protocol, we introduced two conditions, one where the position of the other person is displayed on the left, and one without this feedback on the right. This is meant to induce a stronger sense of copresence in the condition with feedback. The experiment consists of 14 pairs of participants which were split between each condition. After a short introduction of the task and its rules, participants went through a simple training phase with 10 walls. Then they completed 5 sequences of 30 walls with optional breaks between them. They then answered the questionnaires individually. We then had them complete an additional block with the alternative condition, which would serve as a way to give them perspective despite the between design of the experience to gather richer insight in the final semi-structured interview, which was grouped. We found a significant effect of feedback on the questionnaire score, showing a higher sense of co-presence with the feedback. Performance was also significantly better with feedback, and we found an effect of block on performance hinting towards a learning effect. Regarding gaze, participants with feedback were found to spend more time looking forward than those without. Correspondingly, participants without feedback spent more time looking towards their partner than those with feedback. With these results, we argue that there is evidence for a link between copresence and behavior, which means that copresence can be measured through behavioral measures. Participants reported that errors, or at least some of them, were caused by a lapse in attention to the other. This could indicate that there is a continuous nature of copresence, which can also mean that copresence has the potential to be measured through techniques similar as the breaks in presence. A learning effect could be found, which was confirmed by the strategies reported by the participants, who managed to establish them by repeating blocks. So a more complex version of the protocol may be necessary to prevent this learning effect, for instance by adding additional lanes. This protocol could also be applied to other contexts without the avoidant task by keeping three key aspects. First, there should be a spatial territory that participants can appropriate and share. Second, the tasks to be collaborative while allowing forms of conflicts within these territories. And finally, the tasks should allow sufficient independence between the participants so that the level of copresence may vary. Thank you for your attention. For more details, you can refer to the main article.